Hello friends, welcome back to Shinobi Legacy. Today, we've got another epic Naruto what if. Let's begin.
Which is what if Naruto was trained by the Kyuubi, the betrayed demon king who turned pain into power and won every heart. Ultimate Harem Saga Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this.
And now let's start the fanfic. 7 a.m. Naruto sat on a mat in the middle of his shack, with seals covering the whole upper right side of his body, and a cage bunshin finishing the seals, on his hands, before doing a long sequence of seals, then pressing his hands on Naruto's bicep and saying, Ketsuki Chozo Fuin. Then all of them blood ink started to converge and make shapes before finalizing on the shape of a phoenix, that looked like it was flying down Naruto's arm. But there wasn't any color in the drawing, so it didn't look as badass as it would if there was color. There you go boss, a blood storage seal for your Fenikusu Gakido no Sume. The original inspected his arm. This is good, I like how these two tails curve around my shoulder and rest on the right side of my chest. You did good, now you're dismissed. At this the clone disappeared. Naruto then stood up, walked to his shirt and jacket and put them on, but now that the sleeve of the jacket covered his tattoo he didn't like it. So he torn the sleeve off, along with the left one, not wanting to be tacky. Nice, just perfect. Now to test it.
Naruto then walked to his sword and sealed it. Hello Jigoku, can you hear me? Naruto waited for his answer. Hey Jigoku, are you there? Yes, I'm here, can't I get any sleep? Jigoku told him, now woken up. Oh good, it worked, I could still talk to you while you're sealed. Okay, you could go back to sleep. It's too late now, I'm woke now. What happened to Akane? I would usually hear her, but I can't. Jigoku asked. I don't know, I think she was asleep like you, and didn't want me to wake her up, so she cut her side of the mental link. I think it was very smart of her, not like you. Naruto teased the ancient phoenix. Be quiet. He yawned. How are your clones doing with those forbidden jutsus you were telling me about last night? Jigoku asked, wondering when he'll be done with that training so he could start Tortu Air teaching him again. As Jigoku asked Naruto this question, Naruto walked outside to see about 100 of his clones working on the Uzu no Ken. Some were doing it well, while others weren't. He could hear the destruction his other clones were doing with the Mizu Hadouken at the nearby waterfall he made. The Bunshin Bakuha he mastered on his vacation. He dispelled all of his separately, 5 at a time, and when he was done he answered back. Let's see, the Uzu no Ken is still a little unstable and the Mizu Hadouken is missing the maximum amount of heads it could make, and I still can't make it shoot any bullets after separation. Naruto responded while making 300 more cage bunshins and splitting them up, 150 each jutsu.
Alright, I want Group 1 to work on the Hydra. Split yourself up to 50 clone a group. The clones did as asked. Alright, now Group 1A, I want you to work on the number of heads that could get made. Go. That group left. Group 1B, I want you to work on the separation speed. Move it. That group left. Now Group 1C, I want you to work on the water bullets these things could fire off. And hurry up. After that group left, he turned to the other 150 clones. You guys know what to do, so get to work. Naruto then left, walking towards his apartment for some grub, when he passed a patrol clone. Patrol clones had a simple job: if they seen anybody coming in the direction of the shack, they were to dispel, sending the information to Naruto and the remaining clones, telling them to stop training and dispel themselves, leaving nothing behind. He nodded at the clone, but then stopped walking.
He was thinking about something in his past, like exactly how he got this place of solitude.
Flashback, 4 years ago. Naruto's apartment was just emptied out of all of its stuff and was sitting outside on fire. He had to again thank himself that he keeps everything of value on himself. Having no place safe to go and be by himself, he walked to the only place he knows nobody goes. As he made it on top of the Hokage mountain faces, he seen somebody already there. Scared, he turns around and was about to run when the stranger talked, "It's okay, I won't hurt you." Naruto turned around and inspected the individual. The man was wearing Anbu armor and a weasel mask. He knew then that he was dangerous, as he couldn't trust the Anbu because the Anbu were the ones that always found him when he tried to hide, and drop me off in the red light district, to get beat up by drunken adults. He was about to run away again when Teen spoke again. "I said it was okay and I wasn't going to hurt you." Weasel, still seeing the doubt in the kid's eyes, suggested, "How about I take off my mask, will that quell your fear?" Naruto knew that Anbu weren't supposed to take off their masks to keep their identities a secret, and if this Anbu was going to show his face then he couldn't be all that bad. So he nodded, causing the Anbu to take off his mask, revealing the face of Uchiha Itachi. "See, I told you, you have nothing to fear." Naruto finally got close enough to get a good look at the 14-year-old Anbu member. He had coal black eyes and lines on the sides of his nose, and dark black hair in a short ponytail. After the inspection, Naruto sat on the Yondaime's head, not wanting to be the Sandame's head. He knew it was the Yondaime that sealed the Kyuubi inside of him, but he always felt safe sitting on his head and he didn't know why. Itachi smiled at that and went to sit on the Yondaime's head also. And seeing Itachi sit next to him, he asked who he was. "Well, my name is Uchiha Itachi. I'm 14 years old and a member of Anbu. I came up here because they wanted me to be a captain and I wanted to weigh the options of choosing whether I should or shouldn't." "Wow." Itachi smiled again and asked what he was doing up here, since he is the only person that he knows of that goes atop the Hokage's mountain faces. "I come here all the time, when I'm feeling down or want to truly get away from the people in the village. And they never come up here, so that's why." Naruto said, sad again, remembering what recently happened to his place. "So what happened now? If you only come up here when you're sad or something happens to you, then something must have happened now." Itachi asked him after seeing his downtrodden face. "Well, my place just got emptied out of all its stuff and set on fire right outside of the apartment complex."
"Well, how about you live up here where no one knows where you are, and only got to your apartment to take showers and eat and stuff like that?" Itachi told Naruto, causing Naruto to get happy and hug Itachi. "That's a great idea, thank you, Itachi."
Itachi returned the hug and asked, "How about after I help you build your little establishment, how about I teach you some fire jutsus, alright? But you can't tell anybody, keep it a total secret." Naruto just tightened the hug and thanked Itachi over and over. 1 month later. Naruto has learned a lot, after being taught by Itachi and Akane. Itachi even knows about Akane, and Akane threatened Itachi to not tell anybody of the relationship he has with Naruto. Sometimes Naruto would call Itachi ni-san. Itachi never minded, he actually liked it, and called him Otudo back. "Itachi ni-san, I learned all the chakra control exercises. What do I do now?" Itachi turned to Naruto and said, "I'm sorry Naruto Otudo, I have to go on a mission and I won't be coming back. I just came over here to give you a scroll on the other elements to get you started, alright. I'm sorry there wasn't a lot of wind or lighting jutsus in the library, but I am giving you some I know."
After hearing Itachi say that he wasn't going to come back, he started to feel sad about his brother leaving him. "Why do you have to leave? It's a mission, isn't? So you have to come back to report," Naruto said, clutching onto the scroll.
"That may be true, but not this one." Itachi, seeing Naruto about to say something, kept going, "You'll find out tomorrow what my mission was, and don't worry, we'll see each other again."
Naruto just watched as Itachi left and then turned around and headed back to his shack to store and learn from the scroll.
Release flashback. And he did find out Itachi ni-san's mission. It was the elimination of the Uchiha clan, but Naruto knew Itachi wasn't that strong to kill off his entire clan in one night. He knew Itachi had help, but from who he didn't know. Noticing that he stopped moving and was still in the same spot, he shunshined the rest of the way to his apartment. And ate some of the food that was there. After eating and taking another shower, He left on his way to the training ground, noticing the time said 8:56 a.m., so he left the house, not bothering to lock up since he didn't have anything valuable to him in there, and sunshine to the training ground, just as the clock struck 9 o'clock. Now at the training ground he seen his teammates but no sensei. "Hey Sasuke, where is Kakashi? I could have sworn the plan would have worked." Sasuke, hearing his teammate, looked up and answered back, "I don't know, me and Sakura has been here since 8:30, and she has been annoying the hell out of me. Where the hell were you?" Sasuke said, pushing the sleeping Sakura off his shoulder, knowing she wasn't asleep. "Come on Sasuke-kun, you know you was liking it earlier when Naruto wasn't here," Sakura said, leaning back on Sasuke.
Naruto just stood there not believing his ears. "Whoa Sasuke, were you really liking what she was doing to you? Okay, I'll leave so you could go back to doing whatever you was doing." Naruto laughed while walking away.
"Wait Naruto, get ba." He would have said more, but a puff of smoke alerted him and Naruto of the arrival of their sensei. "Oh, thank Kami you're here sensei, what do we got to do?" Sasuke said, getting up real quickly, causing Sakura to lean onto the ground and become angry at Kakashi.
"Sensei, why are you so early? Me and Sasuke were having some quality time." Naruto and Kakashi's sweat dropped while Sasuke looked like a frightened animal about to get put down. "Okay Sakura, I'll be back in 30 minutes, don't do anything I wouldn't do." He chuckled and was about to leave when Sasuke begged him to stay and give them the test. Kakashi looked at his students. Sasuke, who was on his knees begging him to start the test, Sakura, who had hearts in her eyes looking at Sasuke, and Naruto, who was watching all of this smirking, and he could tell he was smirking since he wore a mask and knew the outline a smirk makes. He decided to make Sasuke suffer for a while when he noticed Naruto's tattoo.
"Hey Naruto, where did you get that tattoo? It looks professional, and I doubt that somebody from this village would do that. So where did you get it at?" Naruto didn't panic or nothing, he just pretended not to hear him and responded saying, "Sensei, when are we going to get this test started? I need to fight something." Naruto said, feeling desire to shed some blood, as his eyes glowed red. Kakashi, noticing this, decided to start this thing and get away from Naruto before something or someone gets hurt. "Alright, the objective is to get these 2 bells from me by noon." Naruto calmed down a little and wondered where the hell he got those bells because he didn't dig in a pocket or nothing. "Sensei, but there's only 2 of them, and there is 3 of us, one of us won't get a bell," Sakura said, observing the 2 bells.
"Well yes, I was just about to get to that. If one of you doesn't get a bell, then that person is going back to the academy." Naruto, noticing the flaw in this, spoke up, "Wait, then that would go against the rules, as I have never heard of a 2-man genin team. So since you can't do that, the bells must be to break up the team and have us lose focus of the objective at hand, which is to get the bells together, since I don't know a genin that could take on a Junin by themselves. Well, except for me," Naruto added in his mind. Sasuke and Sakura weren't really surprised at that, since they had talked about it yesterday, with the plan and everything, except they didn't know about the whole bell thing. But Kakashi was again thinking about if he should be worried that he was smart enough to see through his plan already. "Well, that may be true, but do you know what the true purpose of the test is then?" Kakashi asked Naruto. Naruto, well, he didn't have to really think about it and answered, "It's teamwork. Now can we just have a team sparring match against our new sensei, since we foiled your evil plan?" Naruto said, taking out Senbon needle and twirled it around his fingers, with a bored look on his face.
Everybody just stared at Kakashi, waiting for his answer. "Fine, we'll fight. Now let's see how strong you are. Come at me with the intent to kill or you're not going to get far in this business." At this, all 3 of the students got ready to execute the plan they talked about yesterday. When the signal was given, they disappeared, except for Naruto, who was stalling and giving the others time to get into position. "Naruto, you know you're supposed to hide, right? You're not showing your smarts by standing there," Kakashi said, taking out his book, and that's when Naruto substituted his book with a rock, and ran. When Kakashi seen Naruto run with something orange in his hand, he looked down and noticed he was holding a rock. When the hell he do that? Hey brat, get back here with my precious. Kakashi yelled with fire in his eye and gave chase.
As Naruto was jumping through the trees, he heard Kakashi yelled and sensed him right behind him. So he jumped down and landed in a clearing where a fire was set up and put the book over it, waiting for Kakashi to go onto the targeting position.
When Kakashi landed on the floor and seen his book above a fire, he tried to reason with Naruto. Naruto, what are you doing? That's an autographed copy of the first issue, it was my first Ika. Don't burn it. He started to shed tears. And when the tears started to roll, wires came and wrapped around his body, or at least tried to, as he kawarimied out of the way and close enough to his book to snatch it out of Naruto's hands, and jumped back with another rock. Where did this rock come from? And when the rock hit the ground, it turned back into an orange book. Oh no, my Ika has touched dirt. No. Jiraiya-sama, please forgive me. Kakashi was too busy crying to notice his student's sweat dropping at his behavior. Oh, what's wrong with him? This is not how I imagined a Junin to act. Sasuke informed his teammates, confused with the way Kakashi was acting. I know it's creepy to think that he's praying to a god of porn. Maybe we should go to the Hokage and ask for a different sensei. Sakura added, watching Kakashi cradle his book, rocking back and forth. Naruto was just taking pictures of the whole thing to use as blackmail material for later on. Nah, I don't think we should do that. At least we won't be bored if he is going to act like this every time we take his book, and plus with these photos we should have him wrapped around our fingers. Naruto, seeing Kakashi clean the rest of the dirt off his book and stand up, quickly put the camera away and acted like they all were just watching him, cause that is exactly what they were doing. Kakashi, seeing this, just rubbed the back of his head sheepishly and asked if they wouldn't tell anyone what just happened. They all smirked and said okay, until Naruto spoke, can we fight now? Well, we would have if you didn't take my book like that. Kakashi said, glaring at Naruto. Naruto just smiled and said, well, this whole thing was a part of our plan, so we could pass your test, and now that we're done, can we fight? He asked again. Sure. Sakura, you're first. Sakura jumped up and asked why she had to go first. Kakashi just turned around and walked back to the other clearing after putting the fire out, leaving them to walk behind him. Back in the original clearing, Sakura and Kakashi spared. It was over quickly, but he did give her chances and told her she would have to take the job seriously and get rid of her fangirlish ways if she didn't want to be killed. She nodded sadly at that and walked back to a tree and sat down. Next was Sasuke. He charged at Kakashi, blocked his punch, and when Sasuke jumped into the air and sent another punch, he blocked that one. In the air, Sasuke sent a kick at Kakashi when he was thrown back a couple of feet. He charged again, except this time faked a left punch and sent another kick at Kakashi's right knee, hoping to gain an advantage. Kakashi just jumped over it and let Sasuke slide under him, and when he turned around he seen fireballs coming at him. With a simple substitution he was out of danger. This time he went on the offensive and sent punches and kicks at Sasuke, overwhelming him. Finally he sent a leg sweep, knocking Sasuke off his feet and put his foot on his chest. Sasuke, you did good, you just need to control your emotions, and not charge in fights without thinking about strategies. I'll get you some books on strategies. And then after you're done with that we'll spar again. Taking his foot off of Sasuke, he stepped back and waited for Sasuke to get out of the way. But Naruto was impatient and gave Kakashi a kick to the side of his head, sending him into a tree. Naruto then waited for Kakashi to come back into the clearing. Kakashi came back and scolded Naruto. Naruto, did I give you the signal to begin? Now let's see how good your taijutsu is. Naruto now got into a stance. He had his left foot in front of him, and his right foot behind him. His body was to the right, making his torso turn sideways. His left arm was bent to the right with his right arm behind his back. This was the stance to the Shizuka Nashi, and Naruto was pumped to fight. Kakashi, noticing the weird stance, decided to get a little serious.
Kakashi was about to charge when he seen Naruto disappear. He looked around, not finding Naruto, when he was kicked and launched back into the trees. Naruto appear again in the same place, still in the same stance. Come on Kakashi, I know that didn't take you out of this fight. Kakashi walked back into the woods with a little blood running down his face and over his right eye. He was caught a little off guard by his speed, but he didn't want to reveal his trump card, but he didn't think he had a choice.
Kakashi, I think you should take this fight very seriously, as you did tell us to come at you with the intent to kill. Now lift up your headband and take this fight seriously, or you're not going to live to see the next day. Naruto told him while taking his gravity seal off. Kakashi, sensing the change, lifted his headband, revealing his Sharingan. Surprising his students, even Naruto, who never knew about the eye being there, but still had a suspicion about why it was covered. So that's the legendary Sharingan. Well, this fight just got interesting. And that's when both fighters charged at each other. Naruto, still being faster than Kakashi, was sending punches and kicks at Kakashi, but Kakashi had the Sharingan and was predicting some of his movements when his eye seen him. The fight was very fast, too fast for Sasuke and Sakura to see. Holy shit, when did Naruto get this strong? Sakura asked Sasuke. Sasuke was seething at seeing Naruto. I knew he was strong, but not this strong. Where did he get this power? I need it to kill my brother. And where did Sensei get a Sharingan? Back to the fight, we finally see Naruto get kicked back and skidding across the field. And taking a breather. Kakashi was just as tired, if not more. Fighting at that speed was not his thing. I think now is the time to worry about Naruto, if he is this strong. Naruto didn't give him any more time to think when he did some hand signs and sent a huge light blue fireball at Kakashi.
Kakashi, noticing what jutsu was being done, jumped out of the way, not believing the fireball was the size it was.
That fireball was bigger than my whole apartment building. And why was it blue? Seeing Kakashi jump out the way, Naruto thought, Hi no Dangan, and sent a nearly white, but still had the blue color, fireball at him. This time it was smaller and thus faster. Kakashi, seeing it coming right for his head and not having time to jump out the way, tilted his head just in time for it to pass by. It was a good thing his hair went the other way or it would be gone. Naruto, seeing Kakashi dodge that one, covered his hands in blue fire and charged at Kakashi. Kakashi, not wanting to get into another taijutsu battle with his flame-handed student, called the match and covered his eye, mad that he practically lost the fight. Naruto, who was about to send a flame punch at Kakashi, ended his jutsu and jumped over him, and landed behind him. That was an awesome fight, Kakashi-sensei, you were really good. That was the most fun I had in a long time. We should do this again sometime. Naruto said, laughing at the look Kakashi had. Aw man, how come you didn't use me, man? I need action too. I'm sorry Jigoku. How about next time? Or definitely during a mission. You better. And nice job with the fire. You're making fire demons everywhere proud. Really? I don't know, but you're making me and Akane proud. Jigoku told him.
Why isn't Akane talking then? She's still asleep. Alright then, I'll talk to her later then.
While Naruto was talking to Jigoku on the inside, he was twirling his Senbon needle on the outside, not paying any attention to Kakashi talking to Sasuke and Sakura about him. Hey Sasuke, was Naruto this strong in the academy? Kakashi said, holding his bruised hip. Now that I have seen this, I am positive that he was holding back a lot of his strength. I don't even think that's all he could do. Sasuke said, glaring at Kakashi's eye. Now how come you have the Sharingan? The last time I checked, you're not part of the Uchiha clan. Kakashi, seeing this coming, told him hold his questions for later. Kakashi then turned to his last student, watching him twirl the Senbon. Naruto, when did you get your strength? Naruto stopped talking to Jigoku right when this question was asked. Well, I trained for it, duh, and I know you was trying to copy my techniques and that's why I only did jutsus you already knew. Naruto said, smirking at the end. But, what about that last jutsu? I couldn't copy that, and why was the flames blue? Kakashi asked, pointing to a burning tree. Sorry sensei, but that's a secret I can't share with you. Kakashi, giving up, spoke. Alright, well, you guys are officially Team 7, we will meet here every day at 8 a.m. to train and then missions. Kakashi said and shunshined away to the hospital to get his ribs checked. Now with Kakashi gone, Sasuke walked to Naruto. Fight me, Dobi. Sasuke said, glaring at him. Sorry Sasuke, but I'm going to have to refuse. I just got done fighting Kakashi and I need to rest. That man has an incredible right hook. Naruto walked away holding his jaw. Sensing that Sasuke was charging him, he shunshined out of the way into the village. Hokage Tower. In the Hokage Tower were the same Junin senseis. Except this time they were telling the Hokage if the teams they had either failed or passed. But only 3 teams could pass, and if there were more, the Hokage would pick the 3 teams and the others would go back to the academy to try again.
They would have been done with this meeting already if it wasn't for a certain Cyclops, who always wants to be late for everything.
Hokage-sama, can we just start the meeting without Kakashi? A random Junin said. At the Hokage's nod, the senseis began to list off the failing and passing teams, and after the sensei for Team 5 was about to fail his team, Kakashi walked in the room with bandages over his ribs and a little dried blood coming from his healed head. Kakashi, what the hell happened to you? The Hokage asked his soldier. Kakashi just kept it walking and stopped beside Kurenai and Asuma. I'll answer that during my report. Hokage just nodded and signaled for Team 5's sensei to go. They failed, as did Team 6.
Team 7 passed. Everyone didn't believe that Kakashi actually passed a team, and Kurenai was even checking if she was under a genjutsu.
Everybody even backed away from him, thinking he was sick and didn't want to catch what he had. Kakashi. He was sweat dropping at this and asked Kurenai to quit saying Kai so loud, as it was hurting his ears. The Hokage, even though he wanted Naruto to pass so he could give him never-ending D-rank missions, still couldn't believe that Kakashi passed a team. Kakashi, explain what they did to pass. Well, first of all, when I was explaining the test, when Sakura asked why there was only 2 bells, I told her that the student that didn't have a bell would go back to the academy, just like I do with every team I get. But then Naruto goes into detail about why that can never happen and teams don't go into 2-man cells and the bells must be here to break up the team, and told me that Genins could take on a Junin, unless they used teamwork to do it. After explaining, everybody was muttering about the demon and everything. But that still doesn't tell me why you look like that, if you pass the team. The Sandame asked him, seeing something wrong with the story. And at that all the other Junin agreed, nodding their heads and looking at Kakashi for an explanation.
After that, Naruto asked if the team could do the test anyway since they had a plan, and the plan targeted something precious to me, so of course the plan worked.
And after that Naruto again asked if the team could spar. I just think he needed to fight, so I accepted. And they all fought me. All the other Junin then got the bright idea that it must have been the last Uchiha that hurt Kakashi this badly, but Kakashi told them it was Naruto, and Sasuke did land a single hit on him. Everybody again started yelling in outrage at this about the demon being too weak to do anything to a Junin. The Hokage just listened, thinking of something to do. And when Kakashi was done explaining the fights he had with his students, talked, Kakashi, I have a plan. I need you to attack Naruto while telling him I want to see him. I'm giving him a new sensei. You're not adequate enough to tame him, if he nearly killed you in a simple spar. The whole room was silent. They had never seen a team be split apart so quickly, for such a reason as one of the students being stronger than the teacher.
Kakashi wasn't liking the idea and complained about it, but Hokage-sama, if you split apart the team you'll mess up the whole team dynamics and their teamwork. Kakashi, wasn't it you that didn't want Naruto on your team in the first place? Kurenai asked. Kurenai, that was different. That was before I actually met the boy. When I seen him, he was trying to be friends with Sasuke and even apologized to the boy for doing what he did. And the last time I checked, demons don't apologize to anyone about anything. Kakashi rounded at Kurenai. And also demons don't laugh and hang around friends like me and my team saw. Asuma said, referring to the time at the barbecue place.
And it seemed that Sasuke had returned his friendship, and the last time I seen the Uchiha, he was always depressed and never had something nice to say. And at the barbecue place, where me and my team went to celebrate their passing, we seen Sasuke standing up for Naruto, and Naruto didn't even send a glare or anything at the waitress and just joked around with Sasuke.
I don't think demons like to have friends. Hokage to-sama. Asuma ended his speech with a soft tone to better talk to his father.
So your team passed Asuma? Hi. Well, what about you, Kurenai? Hi. Alright, everyone else is dismissed. Now Kakashi, I want you to make Naruto think you betrayed him, so it'll be easier to put him on a different team, and make it believable. If you say he is as strong as you say, then I'm going to need him on higher missions and not waste him on D ranks, like I plan to. So you only want him off my team so he could do higher ranking missions, but I thought you hated him. The Hokage, for all of his power, felt guilt at something. It was like one half of himself was fighting the other half. I still do, but I've been putting myself in his shoes these past 4 years, thinking about everything I did to him, and I don't know, I feel guilty. So you finally realized that he was just an innocent child that was subjected to a cruel fate, and you just made that fate even worse by not helping him. The Hokage put his head down in shame at Kakashi's words.
Hi, and every time I look at Minato's picture on the wall, I feel as if I'm betraying him, with the way I'm treating his son.
Every time I look at his picture, he is scowling at me, and I just feel ashamed at my own behavior. And that's why I need you to do this. I want him to take all of his anger out on something, but it's not going to be me. So tomorrow attack him, or I'll make you do D-rank missions for a year before publicly executing you for disobeying a direct order. The Hokage ended his speech with a wave of his hand, dismissing Kakashi, who was regretting what he was going to do to Naruto tomorrow. With Naruto was walking into the village when he decided not to and go to a different training ground to get some extra training in, since he didn't feel like walking to his shack to train, and didn't want to go back to training ground 7 as he might pass Sasuke, who wants to fight, especially after seeing his fight with Kakashi.
But as he was walking, he started to hear the sound of a fist hitting wood, still pumped from his fight with Kakashi. He walked in the clearing, seeing something he wished he didn't, but it was too late as they had already seen him. Yash, it seems a youth has come here to keep his flames of youth alive.
Hi Guy Sensei, this youth-filled person looks strong for someone so youthful. I must spar with him to test my youth. And if I can't do that, then I'll do 500 push UPS. Naruto had walked into a freak show. There were 4 people in the clearing, 2 twins wearing green spandex bodysuits with orange leg warmers, a Hyuga wearing a beige shirt and blue shorts, and a girl with 2 buns in her hair, wearing a pink Chinese-style shirt and baggy bluish pants. And in the middle of the short twin's speech, the girl hit the second twin in the head, shutting him up.
I'm sorry, stranger, but Lee can get so energetic just like Sensei. Hi, my name is Tenten, and that's Hyuga Neji, and those 2. I am the green beast of Konoha, and taijutsu specialist Maida Guy. And I am Konoha's second green beast and taijutsu specialist Rock Lee. That's the spirit, Lee, Guy Sensei. Lee, Guy Sensei.
Quick look away, the Hyuga yelled, but it was too late for Naruto, who was staring dumbly at the whole thing and didn't hear the warning, and thus was subjected to the full force of the sunset that appeared when the 2 spandex-wearing freaks hugged. You could swear that you could see his eyes burning. I mean, they were smoking and everything. Ah, my eyes, SSSSS, they burn. Please stop the pain. You could see Naruto on the floor rolling around, and in Naruto's mind you could hear the screams of Jigoku and Akane, who finally woke up, and they too were subjected to the sunset, and they tried everything but they couldn't get rid of the image of the sunset from his mind. It's not working. Jigoku, quit burning it, you're making it stick more. Sorry, but we need to get this out of here.
Tenten and Neji then ended the sunset by separating the two, but Naruto was still on the ground rolling around and yelling for somebody to end the pain.
So Neji did the same thing he did to himself when he first seen the dreaded sunset. He went over to Naruto and cut him in the arm, causing Naruto to focus on something else. Ow, why did you cut me, man, that hurt? Hey, I don't see a sunset anymore, thank you. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, I'm sorry I didn't catch your names. He said, looking in Tenten and Neji's direction. Tenten's sweat dropped and told him her name again, and Neji did the same, very apathetically, not caring about him anymore. Forgive these two, like I said, they always talk about youth and flames and some other stupid stuff.
So they always do this? Naruto asked, looking at the two. I feel sorry for you. You have one weird sensei. Hey, don't talk about Guy sensei like that. He doesn't deserve it. Rock Lee came to his sensei's defense. Wait, you said that we have a weird sensei, so who is yours? Tenten asked Naruto.
My sensei is Hitaki Kakashi. Oh, you have my eternal rival as your sensei, I knew it. You must be the copy of Kakashi, like Lee is my copy. Guy yelled and laughed at the irony of the situation about how Kakashi would never corrupt any of his students, and now he has a student here with a mask like Kakashi's. Lee, hearing about Kakashi, yelled, wait, you are the student of Kakashi, then you must read that unyouthful stuff Kakashi reads and is aloof to everything and has a hip attitude to everything. So that means, like Kakashi is Guy sensei's rival, you must be my rival. Lee said all of that in one breath, amazing Naruto, until he caught on to what he was saying. Hold up, are you saying because Kakashi is my sensei that I have to be your rival, and because I have a mask I'm his copycat? He asked, and at seeing them nod, he face faulted at the stupidity of it all. First of all, I got this mask way before I met Kakashi, I don't read porn like he does, and my attitude is not hip. But I will be your rival, if you give me a good fight. Tenten and Neji smacked their foreheads with the hands while listening to Guy and Lee cheer at Lee getting a new rival.
Then it's settled. Naruto-kun and Lee-kun will spar right now to settle the agreement of being youthful rivals.
Naruto just stood there and thought, what did I get myself into now? I don't know, but you better not lose or I'm not talking to you anymore. Akane told him from his mind. Akane, when did you wake? Just in time to get tortured by a killer sunset. But Naruto couldn't talk anymore as Guy started the spar. And Naruto had to act fast to dodge the speedy missile kick that was Rock Lee. Damn, that was fast.
And that is what the fight was, Naruto and Lee going very fast, fighting each other, sending punches and kicks, blocking punches and kicks, and dodging punches and kicks.
Lee sent another punch at Naruto, but Naruto grabbed his fist and sent his own, which was grabbed, and they struggled for dominance, when Lee suddenly dropped to the ground and said Konoha Senpo and jumped up and kicked Naruto in the chin about 3 times before Naruto was sent flying into a tree by the 4th kick, and he was dazed. Naruto recovered and launched out of the foliage and sent a surprise punch to Lee, and more series of punches before kicking him in the air and jumping up after him, doing more punches, before one was blocked and missed the other one, and Lee kicked him back down to the ground, where he landed on his feet, and Lee did the same. I can't believe you blocked my Ryu no Hoko, you're very good to get out of that. Now let's see what you got against my Hanu no Mai. He spoke when his hands lit in blue fire. When Guy ended the spar, with a series of claps. Excellent Naruto-kun, your taijutsu is superb, and your style is great, what is it anyway? Guy asked. Naruto sighed at never getting to fight with Hanu no Mai and deactivated his flames. And told Guy, it's Shizuka na shi no Geijutsu, and it took me 4 years of hard training to get to master this lost art. Naruto said, full of pride at his accomplishment. While Guy was astonished that he learned a lost and deadly art. Who taught you this? Because nobody in this village knows that style, and it is considered a legendary style that focuses on only speed, precision and keeping your chakra signature to an absolute zero to avoid detection. You must have perfect chakra control to do that. Guy still amazed that someone so young has perfect chakra control.
Nah, I don't have perfect chakra control. I put a chakra limiter on myself in the beginning of the training, to help me learn the art. See? Naruto showed them his chest, causing Tenten to blush, and used chakra to make a tattoo appear.
The tattoo was a picture of the Kyuubi's back and showed her tails, where two of the tails were glowing purple, one was fully purple and the other was only halfway purple, telling them how much of his chakra was sealed up. I use this to keep my reserves at the level of an ordinary cage, and every time I get more chakra it goes in here to not mess up the flow of chakra and my control of my chakra with it. I designed it myself. Naruto told them all.
So you must be a master in the art of Fuinjutsu, to come up with this. Guy told him. No, not a master. Jiraiya of the Sannin and Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, were masters of the art.
I'm an amateur compared to them. The only other things I made with Fuinjutsu were this Ketsuki Chozo Fuin, containing my sword, and at the word sword Tenten perked up. Sword, can I see? Naruto stopped talking and looked at Tenten's pleading look. Okay, sure, Naruto said, biting his finger and swiping it over his phoenix tattoo. And out came his sword. Tenten was overwhelmed at the elegance of the blade. She looked at the blade. It had a black sheath, with flames dancing around it from the bottom to the top. A guard that looked like spread wings of some sort of bird, then the hilt was covered in red and black cloth with some yellow and orange being in the red. She was absolutely loving the blade and asked, "Can we spar? Please, we could have a Kenjutsu only fight. But Tenten, I haven't mastered the Fenikusu Gakido no Sutansu yet. How about after I get better, I'll come find you, okay?" Naruto said, taking back his kodachi, and tied it to his hip, using a red sash. Tenten pouted while Neji asked what he was doing here.
I was just passing through. Actually, I have no idea what I want to do. Oh yeah, I came to train, and then I met you guys. Naruto said sheepishly. Neji just said, well then it was fated that you got lost and met us. Naruto was confused. What? I don't think fate is a part of my life.
Fate is everywhere. Everything is decided by fate. Neji continued to talk. And Naruto was starting to get annoyed. Look, Neji, there is no such thing as fate. Everything isn't decided. We all have a choice in everything we do. Naruto calmed down and said, alright, I had a long day, I'm going to sleep. Tenten looked at her watch and said, but it's only 4:23 p.m. Why go to sleep? And plus you didn't tell us the other seals you have on yourself. Tenten asked, confused. Okay, you got me. The other one is my Go Ringu Yoso Fuin on the palm of my hand. And the Jirioku Fuin in the middle of my chest. Can I leave now? Naruto said, looking at a couple of trees behind him. Naruto, can you sense them? Guy asked, referring to the Anbu passing through the training grounds, checking for suspicious activity. Sense who, Guy sensei? But Guy didn't answer and continued looking at Naruto, watching him and waiting for his answer. Naruto, sensing that everybody was looking at him, he answered with a nod. And left the clearing in a blue flaming tornado. Dang, Guy sensei, can you do that? Tenten asked her teacher, and he replied with a no. Before yelling, Yosh, Naruto's flame of youth are truly burning, with intense flames of youth. Neji and Tenten's sweat dropped at the weird phrase. With Naruto. This time Naruto was walking in the village. He had nowhere to go, except get his ninja photo took, and he didn't feel like getting it now, but seeing no other choice he headed towards the Hokage Tower. Walking in the streets during the day was so boring, with the same glares and looks of hatred being thrown at you. And like always he glared back, scaring them with his now red eyes. Smirking at them, he entered the tower and walked towards the room where the Hokage and other ninja would be taking the photos. When he entered, he only seen a cameraman and the Hokage. The cameraman spoke, "Is this the kid? Yeah, this is the last rookie ninja to get his photo taken. The two just watched as Naruto went and sat down. Alright, let's get this thing over with. But the Hokage noticed his eyes and asked what happened to them. I don't know, Hokage-sama, but they are the result of this sword. Naruto said, holding the hilt of his sword.
Sword? Where did you get that? Never mind, let's just get this picture taken.
So I can go do my work. Naruto chuckled at a cage actually wanting to do work, and looked at the camera and got completely serious, causing his eyes to go from red to dark crimson, scaring the cameraman in the process. The picture was taken and Naruto got his height, weight, registration ID, birthday, age, gender, village affiliations, and rank, leaving his team blank, put into a book. Naruto was confused about the team slot being blank but shrugged his shoulders, and left the room. Well, he tried to when the Hokage asked him to follow him to his office. In the office, the Hokage asked Naruto to sit down, and as he sat down, the Hokage told him that he was sorry about how he has been treating him for his life, but that he still hated him for his now red eyes. And that he had a surprise for him, tomorrow. What kind of surprise, Hokage-sama? Naruto said, glaring at him. The Sandaime just smiled and said, the best kind of surprise I can give you. The Sandaime then waved his hand, dismissing him from the office. Naruto, not liking how he was dismissed, left with one last glare before, body flickering out, in a flash of blue lighting. I just hope that none of them gets killed on accident. If what Kakashi says is true, then the fight is going to attract a lot of attention, but I'm going to be the first one there. With Naruto, again. Naruto appeared on top of his shack behind the Hokage faces. Thinking about what Sarutobi just told him. Akane, what do you think he was talking about? Akane, hello. Where are you at? She's not talking to you because of the whole sunset thing. Jigoku said. What, she's blaming me for that? Naruto thought incredulously. It wasn't my fault. How the hell was I supposed to know they were going to hug and make a killer sunset like that? It was to my understanding that you were warned, before it happened. Jigoku said, going through his memory just before the sunset hit.
Flashback. Quick look away. Neji yelled. Release flashback. But it was still too late for me. Come on, I suffered too. Naruto said, dispelling the remaining shadow clones, finding the jutsus complete and ready for action.
So he did hand seals and held out his hand, calling, Futon, Uzu no Ken. A vortex appeared around his arm but not slicing the skin, before gathering in his palm and going around his fist. He tried it again with his other arm but found that it was harder to control without the seals, and ended up with some cuts, before ending the jutsu. Alright, one fist is enough for now, he said as he ran to a tree and punched it, causing the spot where he punched it to immediately turn to sawdust and the rest of the tree to converge in the middle before bursting outward, sending tree bits everywhere. Ah, perfect, he said, wobbling a little, at the amount of chakra it took to do all of that.
He recovered a second later and walked to the waterfall, and did hand seals, before yelling Sweden. Hadoraden no jutsu. The water rose, forming a hydra and a total of 5 heads.
He sent it into the air and made it come down again, saying, Katsu, causing the hydra's heads to split and have 5 separate water dragons. Then he said Mizu no Dangan, and each of them fired a water bullet at different trees before crashing into them, causing a lot of destruction and water to go everywhere in an explosion. Multiple trees were uprooted by the water and Naruto was sent flying into the water and skidded on the water before righting himself with chakra. Woo! That's destructive. Ooh, I really love shadow clones. Naruto said, sitting cross-legged on top of the water and summoning a shadow clone. Alright, clone, I have to train with my sword, so let's do this. Naruto said, jumping out of the way of the clone's surprise slash with his sword.
Naruto unsheathed his sword and charged the clone and engaged in a duel of the blades. Slash, parry, duck, jump slash, jump back, charge, stab, substitute. That is what he and the clone were doing, before they locked swords and fighting for dominance. The original kicked the clone and jumped back and got into a stance and said, Seisho no Shisei Kyuki hu no Mai,
and charged at the clone before illusions of him spread around the clone before the clone was slashed by the illusions. He was trying to block them, but they literally went through his guard and slashed his body. They were light cuts, but cuts nonetheless. He was then kicked out of the water by the original when the dance ended. And he knew if he didn't have as much chakra as he did, he would have dispelled long ago.
The clone got up and charged back onto the water and engaged in another battle of the blades with his creator.
The original was getting pushed back by the ferocity of the clone, before he sidestepped and sent another kick, this time launching the clone in the air, got into another stance and said, Ni banmi no sutan sutanhu no mai. He jumped into the air and proceeded to give the clone multiple cuts in the air. These cuts were a little heavier than the first, but it gave nearly a maximum amount of pain as a full cut. The clone was then launched sideways, still in the air, and was hit by a ghost-like image of a flying phoenix, and yet the pain was real, causing him to dispel in a cloud of smoke. Naruto sighed and floated down to the water, landing softly, thanks to his wind manipulation. I don't know whether I should be angry or annoyed at my clone's disappearance at the last move, but judging from its memories, I think I should be glad that I learned these moves so well. Am I right, Jigoku? Naruto said, sheathing his sword and sealing it in his arm. That's right, Naruto, a little more training with the stances and you'll be ready for the next stance. Congratulations, by the way, you're learning very fast. Naruto thanked him and looked at the night sky. That was a great fight. I guess I should get some rest and get ready for whatever the Hokage has planned for me.
What do you think he has planned for you anyway? Akane surprised him with her sudden question. Hey Akane, so you're finally talking to me, huh? Did you get tired of talking to Jugoku or something?
Naruto thought. Actually, yeah, I did. Hey, what is that supposed to mean?
But he did tell me what happened today, and I like to say great job on the Kitsune High. Your affinity for fire is very high, to be able to have mastered it to this extent. Akane praised, causing Naruto to slightly blush. It was nothing. I did have a very nice teacher to teach it to me. And don't forget. Oh yeah, and, Akane, I never seen your human form now that I think about it.
What's up with that? I've been in my mind how many times and I never seen that form. Naruto thought, arriving at his apartment, walking in and starting the shower, and 30 minutes later walked out, and got dressed in a pair of plain black boxers, black sweatpants, and a dark red muscle shirt. After drying his hair, he got into bed and went to sleep, going into his mind to confront Akane, personally.
Naruto woke up to find himself on an island with a volcano nearby.
It was night time and the moon was full and the stars were out. Lava was traveling out and down the volcano. And now that he looked down, he could see that he was stepping on the lava, and yet it didn't hurt. Also, the lava was illuminating the forest with its red light. Naruto was walking through it, just looking around, noticing none of the trees were damaged by the lava. He continued to walk to the volcano, knowing that was where Akane and Jigoku were most likely to be. He reaches the volcano and in front of it was a medium-sized house for when they wanted to relax in their human forms. Since he didn't hear any screeches from Jigoku and heavy stomping and roaring from Akane, meant both of them were in their human forms and waiting for him.
He would have made his way to the house if it wasn't for someone, surprise, attacking me from behind. I would have got chopped in half if it wasn't for my senses picking up the slight sound of someone's breathing.
I dodged and saw that it was a man with black hair that went down to his shoulders and had red eyes. He wore a red haori over his regular black shirt, black hakatas and no shoes. He also wore a sort of necklace that had a phoenix in flight hanging on it. And on the back of the haori was that same phoenix. He was 6 feet and 3 inches and looked to weigh around 250 pounds. And he knew that he was buff under all that. Good job, Naruto, you're getting better.
Naruto relaxed after seeing him relax. Long time no see, Jigoku. he said, playing around, knowing that he just seen him last Sunday, when they trained in his mind to learn the sword stances.
So are you ready for a little sparring, before I meet Akane? Sure, and plus it's always fun to kick your. Naruto had lost the spar he had with him when they first met, and Jigoku wouldn't shut up about it. But he has been training his butt off since then. Let's see if 2 days of training does anything against him. Naruto thought, grabbing his sword and slowly unsheathing it for dramatics. They got ready and then disappeared and reappeared in the middle of the clearing, clashing their swords. They broke the fight and jumped back. Naruto held his sword back and called out, Kase no Mikazuki no Danmaku. After coating his sword in wind chakra, he slashed at Jigoku, sending a barrage of wind crescent moons at him. Jigoku was ready though and blurred through them all, heading straight for Naruto.
Naruto ended the jutsu when he seen Jigoku charging at him and also charged.
They met in the middle again and well fought. Naruto made to stab him when Jigoku jumped above it and landed on the blade and kicked Naruto back a couple yards. Naruto decided to up his game and blurred through the field just as Jigoku did earlier and slashed a piece of Jigoku's Haori and turned around quickly to block and slash from him.
He then tried to kick him back, but it was grabbed and he was thrown through a couple of trees and landed in a nearby lava pit. He jumped out of it and sent more crescent moons at him. He landed and dodged a stab from Jigoku, but was kicked across the field. He righted his body and just missed hitting a tree.
He looked back across the field to have a huge burning phoenix blocking his view. He shunshined out of the way very quickly and appeared in the middle of the field, felling the explosion behind him. He then ran into the forest, trying a different tactic in getting the upper hand against Jigoku. He did some hand seals, sensing Jigoku running after him, and sent a couple of fire bullets at him to slow him down, but it didn't work, because he jumped into the air and transformed into his phoenix form. What, you cheater! You can't go phoenix form on me! Naruto yelled hysterically. Hush your mouth and just continue running away. Naruto heard him reply. Naruto continued running, and after seeing the ocean in the distance he started doing hand seals and called out, Suiten, Mizu Hadoraden no Jutsu. The water rose up and charged at Jigoku in the sky. Jigoku, seeing the multi-headed creature headed towards him, barrel rolled out of the way and transformed back, making himself a smaller target, but still had the phoenix wings, and dived towards Naruto. Naruto just cursed and called the Hydra back towards the direction of the ocean, not being stupid enough to send it for Jigoku when it might miss and hit him. Knew he didn't like those odds. But he did point his finger at Jigoku when he was in range and yelled, Raiden, Kuro Inazuma. A black bolt of lightning then shot towards Jigoku, who got hit in the shoulder and just kept falling and then crashed into the floor, with a big hole in his shoulder. Naruto, seeing this, dropped his hand and ran towards him to see if he was okay. When he got there, he noticed that the body was on fire. Oh shit, what's happening? He was panicking so much that the body soon became ashes, and Jigoku rose from them. Would you calm down, please? Jigoku said, wiping some of the ash off of him. Jigoku, what was that just now? How come it was on fire? I know I only hit you in the shoulder and should be fine. Naruto said, still going crazy.
I said calm down. Geez, it was only an ash clone. Jigoku said, annoyed at Naruto's antics. Oh, so who's the winner in this? Naruto asked after the explanation.
Well, neither of us lost and we both could still fight, so it's a tie. Naruto could live with that, so they both started walking back to the house, and on the way they talked about what Hiruzen might have planned for them in the morning. Will I ever get some phoenix wings? Because that would be so awesome. You will if you get a deep enough bond with me, and master everything I have to offer you, like Kiyoshiro. Jigoku said, looking in the sky.
Naruto entered the house and Jigoku told him it was 3 bedrooms with 3 bathrooms in the bedrooms, a big living room, a library with everything he has learned, a dojo, and an onsen. And sitting on the couch reading a book was a woman with red hair that went down her back to her eyes that were the color of blood, and a heart-shaped face. With ruby red lipstick on,
and she had D cup and a flat-toned stomach. She was wearing a red see-through nightgown and matching red bra and panties. She looked up and seen Naruto and smiled and put her book away. About time you got here. Did you have fun sparring with Jigoku? Naruto just stood there, entranced by her beauty and angel-like voice. Akane C-chan, is that you? And what happened to your voice? It seems to be lacking the power you always talk to me with. Naruto stuttered, still staring dumbly. Oh, that I don't feel like putting power into something when I have no need to, since you're right here. Akane said casually and patted the seat next to her. Come on, sit down and we'll talk about stuff. Naruto just nodded slow and walked over to her, still looking at her beautiful face. He sat down and just stared. Ah, Naruto-kun, what's wrong? Do I intimidate you? She said, putting her arm around him, and laughed. Naruto snapped out of whatever trance he was in. What? Nothing's wrong with me. I'm just surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised. So what you want to talk about? Naruto said, not trying to look down at her cleavage. Oh, nothing really. You said you wanted to see my human form, and now that I showed you, I just want to do something, you know. Maybe I could teach you something I know you'll like. How about it? I know you've been looking at my chest. You like what you see? Akane said, smirking at his stare and dumb nod. Oh hell yeah, how about we go to the onsen and I'll give you a massage, in more ways than one. Naruto said, smirking at the end. You know what? You got a deal, Naruto-kun. She said, grabbing his hand and standing up, leading him to the onsen. In the morning, Naruto woke up with the biggest smirk on his face. Listening to the soft snores of the sleeping Akane and the perverted giggling of Jigoku. Jigoku, you better stop giggling or I'm going to hurt you. Alright big man, I'll stop, but when you can't hear me I'll start again. He. Naruto got up and made a shadow clone to cook him a little breakfast while he took a shower and changed into his clothes. 20 minutes later, Naruto walked out of his room wearing the same thing as yesterday. They were new, it was just a cleaner pair. He walked into the kitchen to find only a stove and a refrigerator. Everything else he didn't feel like he needed. On the counter he found a plate that had an omelet with ham and cheese in it. He ate it quickly and left the apartment.
He jumped over the rooftops using his wind manipulation to glide through the air.
He was very happy. Nothing can ruin this moment of happiness for me. He entered the training ground and seen Sakura and Sasuke sitting on the bridge staring at the water. Well, Sasuke was sitting on it and Sakura was leaning on it by him. Whatever, he didn't care. Hello everybody, did you sleep well? I did. Naruto said, excited and waiting for Sensei to get here to go and get a mission or train or whatever. He didn't care. Sasuke and Sakura just turned toward Naruto, seeing him with a smile on his face and being nice and everything. Sasuke, I'm scared. We never seen Naruto like this. I think he might have finally snapped. Sasuke would have responded if he didn't see his sensei come out of nowhere and kick Naruto over the bridge and sent him skidding on the water.
Sensei, why the hell did you do that to Naruto? Sakura screamed and watched Kakashi jump over the bridge and head for Naruto, with a straight face.
With Naruto was just thinking about how tired Akane must be when he was kicked over the bridge and sent into the water. He stood up and heard Sakura's scream and saw his teacher jump over the bridge and come at him. At first he was dodging his attacks easily while thinking, what the is happening, is he mad about yesterday? That must be it, he's mad that I'm strong and must see me as a threat. Naruto then shunshined out the way of a fireball that came from Kakashi's mouth. Okay, you want to fight again, Sensei? I'll give you the fight of a lifetime. He said, activating his Hanu no Mai. Don't call me your sensei, you demon, I'll never teach you anything. I have no need to anyway, because it seems you're just as strong as any Junin, and now I have to get rid of you before you end up stronger. Naruto, hearing him call him a demon, faltered in his charge and was hit because of it.
Why, you're just like the rest of this village. I knew I shouldn't have gotten too close to you people.
Naruto said, charging at the Junin and threw punches and kicks left and right, some were blocked, some were dodged, but it were the ones that hit the ones he only cared about. What's the matter, demon? You were so much stronger yesterday, or was that just a demon thing? You're strong one day and weak the next, so nobody gets suspicious, huh? The Junin said, grabbing the next punch and throwing Naruto across the river. Naruto, you need to calm down and fight like a true ninja. Don't let your emotions cloud your mind. Jigoku said, trying to get Naruto to fight like he was trained. Naruto heard him and knew he was right, and plus it was time to get serious and get the upper hand in this fight. Alright Hatake, you want to fight, let's take this somewhere else. Naruto said and jumped towards the hugest clearing in Training Ground 7. Kakashi knew he didn't have a choice now and just followed. Naruto landed in the clearing waiting for Kakashi to show up. He was taking his jacket off, and as it hit the ground sending a lot of dust in the air showing that there was a lot of weights in it. And that's when Kakashi appeared. Do you remember my warning the last time we fought? Naruto said, now deactivating his gravity seal, feeling himself become lighter. Yes, I do. Kakashi said, taking his Junin flak vest off showing that it was also weighted.
Oh, you do? What was it, might I ask? Because I can't seem to remember myself. Naruto said, now unsealing his sword and tied it to his hip, and securing it. And also raising his chakra levels, not caring if it alerted anybody.
It was for me to take the fight seriously or I wasn't going to live to see the next day. Kakashi said, lifting his headband showing his Sharingan and also raising his chakra levels and also unsealing his father's now fixed tanto, the same one that gave him the name Shiro no Kiba, and tied it on his back.
They both could already sense ninjas coming in their direction. Naruto then got into his taijutsu stance, as did Kakashi, and started the fight.
The two contestants charged at each other. The Genin sent a kick to the Junin's knees, but Kakashi had seen this with his Sharingan and jumped over the kick. Unfortunately, he underestimated the speed at which the kick was going and ended up getting hit in the shin, causing him to spin like a cartwheel. Naruto then spun with his hands on the ground and kicked Kakashi before he could do another 180. Naruto had done a bastardized version of Konoha Senpo, but it did the job as Kakashi was sent flying across the field. Kakashi emerged from the wreckage and dusted himself off. Well, it seems the demon is faster than last time. Was the gravity seal you have on not at 0 the last time we fought? Kakashi asked, getting back into his taijutsu stance.
Naruto just stared at him before replying. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the sounds of your screams. The Genin thought as he smirked and vanished.
Kakashi wasn't panicking. Naruto did this last time and I bet he's attacking from my blind spot. And as Kakashi turned to look behind him, Naruto appeared right in front of him, crouched, and said loud enough for Kakashi to hear, "Did you think I would pick such an obvious spot to attack from?" And thus Kakashi was hit in the solar plexus, knocking the wind out of him as he was yet again launched into the forest. With the Hokage, Sarutobi was just telling his secretary to cancel his appointments for the day when a woman in a brown trench coat with nothing but mesh underneath and an orange short skirt, she had purple hair in a pineapple hairstyle, full C cups and brown eyes, also around her neck was a fang from, what I believed to be a big snake. This woman was Anko Mitarashi and she appeared to ask him if she could get a quick mission, but after noticing him about to jump out the window she asked, old man, where you going?" The Hokage then told her that he had a fight to watch. "Oh, a fight between who?" she asked again. Sarutobi just sighed. "Between Junin, Hatake Kakashi, and Genin Uzumaki Naruto," he said, jumping out the window with lots of Anbu, Junin, and Chunin following him. Anko had a confused face and thought, why would the old man allow a Junin as skilled as Kakashi fight a wet behind the ears Genin? Wait, he said, fight, what am I still doing here? I hope there's lots of blood. Anko finished thinking and jumped out the open window following the huge crowd of people running to Training Ground 7. Training Ground 8. Kurenai was just finishing stretching with her team and was about to start the training session when Kiba yelled about hearing a fight in Training Ground 7 and ran in that direction. Hinata, not believing someone so stupid and reckless, activated Hibaikugan and couldn't believe what she was seeing. Sensei, it seems that Naruto and his sensei are fighting, at what I assume to be full power with all of the chakra around them, and half of the whole village are on the way to watch it, including the Hokage. I don't know about you, but I'm going to see the demon get its kicked. The heiress said as she too walked off. Kurenai just stared at the spot she disappeared at and then turned to Shino. You want to go too? Shino nodded and walked off with his sensei. A fight between Naruto and his sensei, this should be interesting. Training ground 9, same time. Team Guy was training when Guy suddenly stopped and said, well, it seems like my eternal rival is fighting somebody, seriously. But who and why? Neji find out on the way. The Junin said as he jumped towards training ground 7.
The students knew not to argue as they too could feel the chakra coming from the training ground. Guy, I think it's Naruto that he's fighting, and they are fighting seriously.
Naruto just punched Kakashi in the solar plexus, which sent Kakashi in the forest. And also I could see the Hokage and other ninja going to that location, to watch or stop the fight. I have no clue. Neji explained, deactivating his Byakugan, and continued to jump through the trees with everyone else, having the question why going through everyone's minds. Training ground 10, same time. Asuma and his team were just entering the clearing of choice together when Asuma felt the massive influx of chakra. He turned to his students to check if they noticed. If they did, they'll go and check it out, if they didn't, they'll stay. He looked over each student, but only Shikamaru noticed as he was looking at him. Alright, let's go see what that was about, said the Junin. But sensei, do we have to? Can't we just stay here? Going over there is going to be troublesome. And as the two continued to argue, Ino and Choji were confused, but followed them anyway, when Asuma called for them to hurry up. Back to the fight. Kakashi laid on a broken tree, dazed, before substituting himself with a log just in time to avoid Naruto's axe kick, which broke the log and obliterated the tree. Kakashi then appeared out of the dust cloud and punched Naruto back into the clearing. That is when everyone gathered into the clearing, watching the fight.
So father, I take it that Naruto finally snapped? Asuma asked his father as he and Kurenai gathered around him with the other Junins and Anbu.
Hiruzen looked at his son. Yes and no. Naruto has just learned that Kakashi thinks of him as a demon, like the rest of the village. But he didn't start this fight, Kakashi did. Naruto gotten more serious, and this is the result. But this is also an evaluation for me to see all of Naruto's skills. I want to see if Kakashi had gotten hurt because he either underestimated his student or if Naruto really is strong enough to hurt one of my elite Junin. Now be quiet and watch the fight.
Everyone had heard what the Hokage had said, and were surprised that Naruto had injured Kakashi a first time. Even Sasuke and Sakura, who were watching the fight behind a tree, wondering why Kakashi had a sudden change of heart about Naruto. Naruto flew back into the clearing and then landed on his feet. He then blocked and dodged Kakashi's strikes, making the Junin frustrated.
What's wrong, Hatake? Can't you hit me? The genin smirked as he ducked an overexerted kick to his head. He then kicked Kakashi into the air, jumped up after him and gave him a series of punches and kicks before they started to finally stop their rise in the air and started falling. Naruto hit the Junin a couple more times before he yelled Ryu no Hoko and hit the Junin a final time with his fist covered by a transparent dragon head, launching Kakashi down into the earth, making a 20-meter wide crater and kicking up a huge dust cloud. Naruto was still in the air when he yelled, "Now let's begin the ninjutsu portion, Kaden, Hai no Dangan." Naruto said as he sent fire bullet after fire bullet into the dust cloud. He landed on the floor waiting for the dust cloud to clear. Seeing that it was taking too long, he thought, "Futon, Datapa," and blew out a huge gust of wind. It blew the cloud away, revealing a slightly burned and heavily breathing Kakashi, finishing hand seals, Doden, Doryuden, when he said that the head of a dragon rose from the ground and launched mud shots at the genin. Naruto thought fast and opened his mouth and thought, Raiden. Gion, at that a huge bolt of lightning was fired out of Naruto's mouth, destroying the mud shots and continuing its journey towards Kakashi, whose body flickered out the way. With the Hokage was just watching the fight, but Asuma, Kurenai, Guy, Anbius Cat, Tiger, Dragon, and Horse, along with the rookie Genin and Team 9 were being loud about the skill Naruto Demon was showing. Who knew Naruto could go toe-to-toe with Kakashi like this? And it doesn't seem he's taking a lot of damage. How is this possible? Asuma thought out loud. When he heard Guy talking, he turned and listened to what he had to say. I knew Naruto-kun was strong and fast. Just yesterday he and Lee-kun sparred in a terrific battle of taijutsu, and I guess this is the result of all the training under a gravity seal. Guy said serious before. That's Naruto-kun for you, his flames are burning bright. He yelled, ruining the moment. Kurenai, hearing something about a gravity seal, spoke up. What are gravity seals? She asked, not knowing anything about fuinjutsu other than exploding tabs, storage and blood seals.
At this the Hokage answered, gravity seals are a part of a higher tier of fuinjutsu. They weigh the body down using, well, gravity.
They are dangerous if you aren't a taijutsu specialist like Guy-kun and Lee-kun, whose bodies always go through constant training to enhance their muscles to handle the pressure of the extra weight being put on their bodies. Does that answer you? Questioned Kurenai-chan. The Sandaime said, still looking forward, watching as Kakashi dodged more fireballs from Naruto. Hi, thank you Hokage-sama. The Anbu were having a different conversation. Cat, how is Senpai having trouble? Dragon asked. Cat shook her head. I don't know, but I think we should help him at the very least. The Hokage, hearing this, told everybody that they were not to interfere with the fight. Everyone reluctantly agreed with their leader. Anko was calmly looking at the fight, wondering again why the Sandaime would allow a genin to fight a Junin, but seeing Kakashi have trouble with this genin made her think about his safety. But after the Hokage told everyone not to interfere, she thought, Kakashi better figure out a way to get the upper hand or he's going to end up dead or in the hospital. Never mind if he gets hurt, that's what his porn reading gets. Anko thought with a smirk. Naruto is one strong gaki. I wonder what his blood tastes like. She thought, licking her lips, looking at Naruto's chest through his torn shirt. When her thought was finished, Naruto couldn't help but shudder, causing him to falter in his step. That caused him to trip and hit the floor, effectively dodging a water dragon that was coming for his head. Everyone's sweat dropped at the dodge, even Jigoku, who was begging Naruto to start using him. In due time, calm down and let me fight, and don't wake up Akane, I can handle this on my own. Too late Naruto-kun, I've been woke ever since I heard Jigoku yelling about for you to get serious. Now hurry up with this. Akane told him. Naruto hopped to his feet and created a cage bunshin for the first time in this fight, shocking the Chunins, Junins, Anbu, and the Hokage. He and the Shadow Clone started doing hand seals at rapid pace, like always. Kakashi, seeing this, got ready and started doing his own. The Genin twins yelled their jutsus, Raiden, Kaminari Okami, Futon, Kazaryuden. The two jutsus were heading towards Kakashi, who thought, oh shit, before he finished his seals and sunk underneath the ground before an explosion ripped him out of the ground, a little shocked, but other than that unharmed. Good thinking Hatake, now let's continue. Naruto said, thrusting his hand out, causing a gust of wind. Kakashi dodged the repusho, but Naruto kept up the barrage of wind palms. Seeing Kakashi dodge another one, he did a couple hand signs and thought, Futon, Kami Oroshi. A whirling vortex of wind blew around Naruto and then blasted out, flying towards the silver-haired Junin. Kakashi dodged it the first time, but it turned around and kept coming after him. He was too busy to notice Naruto end it and do more hand seals, but when he did, he heard, Sweden. Sweryuben. Water swirled around Naruto and whips of water grew out of it and sped towards Kakashi, who quickly made a earth wall and jumped back for good measure. And good thing he jumped back, because the whips of water went around the wall and kept going towards him. He just kept backtracking when the water dropped to the floor, and he seen why it was a drilling bullet heading straight towards him, and like he did last time he ducked his head and dodged the bullet. Quit doing that, dang, take the shot for once. Naruto yelled, seeing him dodging his wind bullet. The Junin dodged more of the wind bullets and charged at Naruto. The genin just did hand seals and said, Kaden, Gakido Fenikusu, and he blew out a blue blazing phoenix that charged at the Junin.
Kakashi jumped into the air, and that was his mistake. Ha, take this.
Naruto said, unsheathing his sword. Ni banmi no sutansu tandhu no mai. He got into the stance and jumped up after Kakashi and gave him multiple cuts in an instant. They were light cuts but induced maximum pain. He then kicked Kakashi sideways, keeping him in the air, and sent a ghost-like image of a phoenix at him. And like what happened to his clone yesterday, this same one gave Kakashi real pain, as he was screaming due to it, and was launched towards the ground, where he laid in a crater, where some of his blood leaked from his small wounds. With the Hokage, everybody was shocked at the power the technique had, especially Hayate Gecko and Kat, who were Kenjutsu specialists. That was unreal. I bet Kakashi is in some real pain. I didn't even see most of the cuts appear until it was over. He said, with Kat being speechless in the subject.
Tenten was absolutely thankful she didn't spar with Naruto yesterday, since he said that he didn't master all of the style yet. But that was still awesome in her eyes. Anko was smirking even more at seeing the blood that was spilt. Back to the fight. Naruto just stood there waiting for Kakashi to get up, and when he did, he spoke. Well, you're alive. Are you ready for the Kenjutsu portion then?
He asked as he shouldered his Fenikusu Gakido no Sume Kodaichi and watched as Kakashi unsheathed his Hakushoku Ko Chikura Sabaru Tanto. Hearing a loud squeal of delight from Tenten, who was jumping up and down at finally getting to see legendary Battle of the Blades. Everybody's sweat dropped at this. The two fighters tried not to sweat drop but failed and let a massive sweat drop fall behind their heads. All the genin were surprised with Naruto, even Sasuke and Sakura, who seen some of Naruto's skills yesterday. Do any of you know how Naruto got this strong? Kiba asked his fellow genins. Each of them shook their heads. Lee, Neji, and Tenten were watching Naruto duck and weave out of Kakashi's fast strikes. Naruto is smart when it comes to the art of the blade. Look, Neji, he is checking for openings in Kakashi's style before he wants to attack. Smart, huh? Tenten pointed out to her teammate. Sasuke overheard this and walked over. Why do you say that? He asked. Tenten just glanced at him and told him, because he isn't swinging back and is only taunting him by doing that. Sasuke accepted the answer and turned back to the fight. Naruto had just dodged another white slash, when his sixth sense went off, causing him to substitute himself quickly. And it's good that he did, because the log was cut cleanly in half by Kakashi's shadow clone. Naruto stuck his sword in the ground and created his own. 10-Kage Bunshin appeared and activated their Hanu no Mai and charged at the Junin, while the original grabbed his sword and hung back.
Kakashi and his clone cursed and started cutting through the clones.
The first 5 of the clones disappeared in the first 10 seconds, but the next 5 started exploding, surprising everybody, especially Kakashi, who lost his clone to the explosions. He rocketed back due to the force of the blast. Did you enjoy my surprise as much as I did, Hatake? Naruto asked, pressing his sword to Kakashi's neck. Kakashi's couldn't hear him due to the ringing of the ears. You know you're not the only one that can do that. Naruto heard a familiar voice behind him, but didn't have time to get ready for the explosion the clone on the floor created. It was his turn to get blown across the wrecked field.
And that's a wrap. Naruto and Kakashi are going all out in this battle royal. Who's going to win in this fight? You'll see next time on Betrayal. I'm just playing, enjoy the rest of the fight.
Kakashi watched as Naruto flew across the field into the forest. He and the crowd waited with bated breath. They knew it wasn't over yet. Where the hell is he at? A random Chunin yelled, and he was given the answer by an immense amount of Ki flooding the clearing.
Naruto walked into the clearing with a cloak of yokai covering his body. He looked straight at Kakashi as the cloak finished healing his injuries and dissipated, but the key stayed.
Kakashi had trouble breathing with all the ki in the area. It reminded him of the Kyuubi, but still lacking the malice, but keeping the anger at what just happened. The crowd were all on their knees, except the Hokage who just had trouble breathing. Incredible, I haven't felt this kind of power since the Kyuubi attacked the village. Don't. What did I say earlier? Stand down, the cloak is gone. The Sandaime ordered his Anbu, seeing them about to apprehend Naruto. Well, Hatake, that was very exciting, yes. Naruto said, ripping the rest of his burnt shirt off, getting a bunch of blushes from the kunoichis. Kakashi did the same, making the kunoichis blush deeper at seeing two muscled ninjas fighting. Naruto got into his stance and waited for Kakashi. Kakashi seeing this charge but, still being careful about the stances Naruto gets into. He clashed his tanto against Naruto's Kodaichi, and this went on for what seemed like an hour but has only been 5 minutes. Naruto slashed at the Junin and parried next. He then jumped back and thought, Kase no Mikazuki no Danmaku, and sent crescent moons made of wind at the Junin. Kakashi dodged as many as he could and sliced through the ones he couldn't, but he didn't get out of all that unscathed. He got a cut on his left shoulder, and a couple around his left arm. He thanked Kami he was right-handed, because his left was a little out of the fight right now. Naruto seen he was injured smirked and got into another stance and said, Seisho no Shisei Kyuke hu no Mai, and sped off to Kakashi.
Kakashi seen the whole thing in slow motion, but by the time it was finished he was flying out of the fray, with more cuts adorning his body.
He landed in a heap of his own blood, unconscious and suffering a case of chakra exhaustion, from keeping his Sharingan active for so long during the taijutsu fight and some of the ninjutsu fight, causing it to flicker in and out of activation, before deactivating, turning that eye to a big obsidian black and the other one stayed his regular small black.
This whole process shocked Naruto, who was resting on his Kodaichi. I don't think that was supposed to happen, he said, sealing his blade and finally letting himself fall into unconsciousness. The Hokage just waited before calling the medics to take Kakashi and Naruto to the hospital for recovery. He looked around the field, looking at all the damage two of his strongest shinobi caused. Hokage-sama, do you want us to clean this up? The Sandaime just shook his head.
No, keep it like this as a reminder to not force either Kakashi or Naruto go all out. Alright, everyone is dismissed. You seen the fight, now go do some missions. Sasuke and Sakura go take a break until Kakashi recovers. He said, walking away. What about Naruto? Sasuke asked the retreating Hokage. Don't worry about him, I have plans for him. The Hokage finally finished and disappeared to his office. Everyone else body flickered away, leaving the Konoha 11 there, with their senseis. They just stood around the wrecked wasteland. Before Kiba spoke, I think it's safe to say that I'm not ever fighting Naruto, he said, nodding his head with his arms crossed. Everyone agreed. I don't think anybody should fight Naruto after seeing this. If he beat Kakashi, I don't think any of us stand a chance, except for Guy, who can keep up with him, but the rest of us, nope, not a chance. Asuma said, taking out a cigarette, replacing the one that dropped during the fight. Kurenai the spoke. Well, the only thing to do now is to go train and then get a mission. Come on, Hinata, Kiba, Shino. Kurenai said, exiting. Kurenai-chan is right, let's go. Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, I'm putting you through some serious training. I'm going to make you guys strong, Asuma said, also exiting with his team. Team Guy left saying nothing but flames of youth and training to do, leaving Sasuke and Sakura alone. How the hell are they going to leave without us? Saizo, well, I'm out, see you later, Sakura. Sasuke said, walking home. Really, Sasuke-kun, you'll see me later. How about on a date? She asked with stars in her eyes. Sasuke just continued walking. Well, I didn't hear a no, but maybe I should train like everyone else, she said, walking home also. Naruto woke up to white ceilings and the sound of beeping, and he was annoyed by it. Oh man, I hate this sound. Go away, stupid. He thought to himself. He sat up and looked around the room. In the room was just plain. It had one bed, the stupid beeping machine, the door, and a curtain. Huh, what's behind there? He thought and got up when he noticed somebody opening the door.
He turned to it to find the Sandame entering. Oh Naruto, you're up. Good, because I got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? He asked, trying to hide a smile. Naruto glared at him and asked for the bad news first. Okay, the bad news is the council wants to see you. He waited for it to sink in and continued. Now the good news is that I have another surprise for you. When Naruto registered the words, he got angry.
What? Another? Surprise? So was Kakashi supposed to attack me or something? Because that's not cool. I would have killed him if I wasn't in the middle of a hostile place. And not to mention I could have gotten some kind of warning. The Hokage smirked when the blonde boy said that. Oh, but I did warn you. I remember saying that I was going to give you a surprise, and it was the best kind of surprise that I can give you. After putting myself in your shoes, I figured that you would need to get out some of your anger at the village in a productive way, and thus the surprise attack I ordered Kakashi to do, and it's a good thing you didn't kill him. I need him for missions, and stuff. Now back to the good news. I'll tell you after the council meeting. Now go change into some appropriate clothing. If you showed up to the meeting in that, I would kill you right after I told you the news. The Sandame said with a glare at the end.
Naruto was again annoyed as he looked at his hospital gown, and thanked Kami that they didn't take his boxers off. He then looked at the curtain again and asked the old man what was behind it. Oh, your roommate is behind there. He's sleeping and is recovering nicely.
Naruto pulled the curtain away to find Kakashi asleep. He got an idea and reached for his mask when a hand grabbed it, scaring the shit out of him. And what was even scarier was that it was Kakashi's hand and he was still asleep. Whoa, that's some serious paranoid shit right there. He really doesn't want anyone to see his face. I tried a couple times in the fight to take it off, but he would always get some kind of burst of speed and dodge the grab just in time.
The Sandame smirked. Well, being paranoid about that must be good because he's the only one in here with a mask on. What? Somebody took my mask off. I didn't even notice.
Naruto said, touching his face, cautiously. No, my mask is gone. Oh well, it was great to have it and it made me look cool. He said, getting over his not having a mask on thing. Okay, call me when the meeting thing starts. I'm going home. He said, grabbing his pants and shoes, and left the room in a column of blue fire. I wish I could do that. I'm starting to hate these leaves. The Hokage said, disappearing in a swirl of leaves.
Apartment. Naruto appeared to see his apartment in shambles, again. He sighed and thought, don't they ever get tired of always doing this? I would like to come to my home to see it like I left it, clean. He walked to his couch but didn't sit down. He smelled something funny on it. He got closer and sneezed. A sneezing powder, that's new. I wonder what else is new around here.
He walked around and was about to go to the apartment's room when he noticed it was red hot. He touched it anyway. These people are retarded. Something as basic as heat won't do anything to me. He entered to see his room on fire with protection seals around the room keeping the fire from spreading. He just stared at it. Before walking to his seal-protected closet, the seal was on the inside to keep it from getting damaged. It's where he kept his clothes. He was about to open it when he remembered the fire. He smacked himself in the head. At that, he put the fire out using Mizoripa and then got his clothes and took him a shower because he knew he was stinking. He got out after 20 minutes and put his clothes on. He knew that he would have to go search for his jacket back at the training field to feel complete, so he made him about 5 ham sandwiches and left the place.
He walked down the stairs to find the villagers running away in terror, but some of the ninjas that he seen were nodding their heads. This village is weird. You beat up a guy and then they start respecting you.
At least I have the Junins and the ANBU's respect. I don't really care about Chunins and Genins, they're powerless to do anything to me. Well, it seems like someone has gotten lately. Don't let all of this go to your head, it's not good for you, just look at what happened to the Uchiha, those superiority complex having dead people. Akane told him as he entered the training ground and searched for his jacket. I don't know why you're looking for that jacket anyway, I say you leave it. You look better like this anyway. She said in a sultry voice. Too late, Kane-chan. Found it, and this jacket cost way too much to just leave it in the middle of a wrecked clearing. I think it deserves a little more respect than that. He thought to her, picking up the pristine jacket. Wow, don't you think it's weird that it didn't sustain any damage or anything? Jigoku said, entering the conversation. Yeah, it is a little weird, but it's not impossible. It could be some kind of super cool sentient being brought here to protect me and never get dirty in the process, he said, laughing out loud, scaring the birds in the trees.
Alright, no more hospitals for you, they gave you way too much morphine,
Jigoku said, with Akane agreeing. Naruto walked back into the village once again, seeing the civilians running into their homes and Junins nodding their heads. Some of the Chunin sneered at him, and some didn't even turn to look at him. He didn't care and just continued walking. His stomach rumbled. What the heck, I just ate, like a half hour ago. What the hell is with that box rock thing? He said, forgetting about his stomach, and stared at a rock with eye holes in it. He was starting to get freaked out when he turned around and sped down the street, screaming about killer eye boxes.
Mindscape. In his mind, Akane and Jigoku had sweat drops. Yep, I think you should hurry up with purging his system to get rid of the morphine.
It's making him act so weird, it's starting to get on my nerves. Jigoku said, watching as Naruto sped through the village, knocking people out his way. When he stopped in front of a wall, he sighed. Man, I wanted him to hit that wall, knock the morphine out of him the funny way. Jigoku complained. He was then slapped in the back of the head, flying off the couch and onto the floor.
Ooh, I'm sorry, did that hurt? She asked, and at his nod she smirked. Good, she said, hitting him some more. In the outside world, when Naruto came to his senses, he found himself looking at a brick wall. He turned around and walked to get him something to eat, forgetting about the crisis he just had.
He passed by people that weren't glaring at him and found it to be Team Guy. They waved. Well, Tenten and Lee waved and Neji just nodded, trying to do his Hyuga, not showing any emotion, stoic face, but failed and showed a smirk instead. Hey Naruto, you're out of the hospital already. I thought they would hold you for at least another week or something. Tenten asked, walking up to him with her teammates. He shook his head and said he heals faster thanks to the Kyuubi inside of him. They just nodded their heads, forgetting about that detail. That was an awesome and youthful fight, Naruto. You truly are an amazing rival. I must match you in strength, and if I can't, I'll do an extra 500 punches and kicks, 600 push-ups and an extra 1,000 laps around the village. Lee said, running off to find Guy-sensei, leaving a dumbfounded Naruto.
Can he really do all of that? He asked them with his mouth on the floor. I think he can and will. I think under that green thing, he's buffer than you are, she said, making Naruto's mouth go through the floor. Pick up your mouth, Naru-kun, Akane told him, and he did it and got a determined look in his eyes. That's it, from this day on my training regime is going up a couple of notches.
I will not let Lee be the buffest of us, he said with fire in his eyes, and turned around and ran right into somebody's chest. He took him a moment and the sound of Akane telling him to move to actually move. He backed up and looked right into the eye holes of the female Anbu member Cat, and she was not wearing her Anbu armor, so he felt it all. He could also tell that she was blushing a little because he could see a little pink around her eyes. Hello. I'm sorry about that, it was the Hyuga's fault, he said, and body flickered away from the wrath he knew she was going to give him. Neji had that what look on his face and looked at Tenten to know what just happened. How the hell I get involved? I didn't do anything, honest, he said, hiding behind Tenten, scared about what the Anbu might do to him. Kat wasn't mad, but she was a little annoyed that he would run like that, and also embarrassed that his head was all up in her goodies. She sighed and turned around and walked away looking for the elusive Jinchuriki. How hard could it be to find him anyway? She thought. If only she knew.